Hello and welcome here on France 24. Our guest today is Abdalla Hamdok. He is the head of Sudan's Takadom. It's a coordination of civic democratic forces. He was prime minister after the fall of the regime of Omar al-Bashir in 2019. He was pushed out by two military leaders, General al-Burhan and General Hamdok, who since then have been fighting a war, a civil war, and it's been 1 year now. Thank you very much for being our guest today, Mr. Hamdok.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to meet French 24.
How would you describe the situation here in Sudan exactly 1 year into this war?
What is happening in Sudan today is extremely catastrophic. Probably the most serious, disastrous situation in the world today. We are facing a situation whereby more than 2 million refugees, close to 8 million internally displaced people, but more than that, about 25 million are subjected to famine and starvation.
That's half the population.
Absolutely, because of this disastrous war, senseless war.
The death toll is often put around 13 to 15,000. Is this the real death toll in Sudan?
Absolutely not. I think this is grossly underestimated. The death toll could be multiples of that. I would like to think we might never be able to know the exact number of people who lost their life in this war.
How would you describe what is happening? Is it a civil war? Is it a war where war crimes, crimes against humanity, even genocide are being committed? What words would you use?
It is indeed a civil war, but I think this is not the first war in the history of Sudan. Our first war started in 1955, just a year before independence of Sudan, 1956. And there are so many other wars. The war in the south lasted for so many decades. The genocide war in Darfur, the war in the Nuba Mountains, the Blue Nile, the East, and all that. But this current war is different from the previous wars. In the past, the wars were in the periphery, in the regions. This time, the war started in the center and engulfed the whole country. So in that sense, it is an all-out war in the whole country.
Is it a war between two men and two ambitions? Is this what it's all about?
I think this is again another misconception of the Sudanese war. Portraying it as a fight between two generals, this is far from that. It is a war that has its root causes in history, in issues of marginalization, whether it's ethnic, regional, religious, and all that. It's a war created essentially by the historical model of development, issues of underdevelopment, and many of this. So I think in the beginning of the war, even the international community has perceived this war as a fight between two generals, which is totally missing the point. But I think with the effort that is concerted effort by the civilians, by many actors, this conceptualization is changing now and everybody is beginning to understand it. This war is much deeper than that, which hence requires different instruments and different engagement and approaches to address it.
Well, how do you address it? Do you see any light at the end of this tunnel you just described?
It's a disastrous situation today, but I'm an eternal optimist. I don't think there is a war that can last forever. It will come to an end.
How?
Our desire and our hope that it will stop yesterday, today before tomorrow. We're working on that. As you put it in your introduction, I had this Taqaddum group. We had a meeting early this month in Addis Ababa. We came up with about what we call political vision as a contribution to address this war, which We had a vision which has 4 components. If I can briefly just mention them. Number 1, we agreed on what we could call declaration of principle, which addressing fundamental issues of the unity of the country, one army, issues of justice and transitional justice, calling for democratic rule, federalism, addressing issues of building state institutions and all that. But also a political process which has so many components. And then we addressed also the issue of the negotiation venue and all that.
Right, but as we speak, there have been attempts by regional organizations, by the African Union, by Saudi Arabia, the US, what's called the Jeddah process, but nothing's working. The war is raging on. Why?
Let me start by appreciating all this effort by the regional organizations community and the international community.
But they're not working.
They are not. We know they are not, because it's a complex issue. But I think we are seeing some progress in this. If you remember, when the war started, we had the Jeddah process, which was coordinated, led by the United States and Saudi Arabia. It made some progress, but after a while, it got stalled. But also the African Union got involved in this. The neighboring countries, there was the neighboring country initiative put forward by Egypt, and IGAD also intervened, and a number of other regional countries, the African Union. I think we are seeing gradually some sort of convergence. The Manama initiative or encounter, which happened probably 2 months ago, we think it's a step in the right direction, bringing more actors into the process. Now we are hearing more effort is being made to expand this a little bit by involving other actors, and that's the only assuring way. Certainly, we do not want to see proliferation of initiatives and forum, and we want to avoid what we can call forum shopping. So we wanted a coordinated process that is coordinated in one center. Of course, modern mediation would have built into it multiple maybe approaches, but we don't want parallel. We want it to be coordinated by one center.
Right. And who should be the center?
I think currently the Revive, Enhance Jeddah, that will take on board all the other initiatives will be the right way to go.
Right. The problem is bringing both generals to the same table. You had a meeting with General Hemeti in Addis Ababa in early January. You said this was a building block, and you were hoping that General al-Burhan would also meet with you. That hasn't happened. Why has he refused to meet with you? Because he thinks that you're siding with General Hemeti, maybe?
There is a lot of what you can call it accusation in that direction. But end of last year in December, we wrote to both generals, to General Burhan and General Hemeti, asking them to meet. General Hemeti responded. We met him in Addis. We agreed and issued Addis Declaration, which is essentially having all these ingredients of going back to civilian rule, declaration of principle, protection of civilian, and all that. General Burhan responded saying that in principle, he would not have a problem in meeting. But this is yet to materialize. In our meeting in Addis Ababa early this month, we again confirmed and affirmed our desire to meet him, and we will continue pursuing that because we think this is the only assured way, and it is in the interest of our country, because there is no military solution to this.
Does this mean that General Hemeti is more committed to a peaceful solution than General al-Burhan, who seems not really very interested in this?
Well, we take them with their pronouncements. General Hemeti, we met with him. He agreed with us that we need to go through a political process. We are yet to hear the same sentiments echoed by Burhan.
Right. In early April, the public prosecutor filed criminal charges against you and a dozen of other members of, let's call it, the anti-war coalition for, quote unquote, inciting war against the state. This carries the death penalty. What is your reaction to those very serious accusations, and what does it mean?
Well, I leave the judgment to the larger population of Sudan and the region and the international community. But it is quite a funny thing. We are a civilian group. We do not carry arms, inciting violence, and all this is just fictitious. So they have accused myself and more than 40 of our colleagues of inciting violence against the state, which is totally fabricated, and I don't think it is helping. We would like to see ourselves as Sudanese engaging at a much higher level of seriousness in addressing the crisis of our country.
Is this the response of General al-Burhan, maybe? Because one can assume the public prosecutor did this maybe on his behalf.
I don't believe the prosecutor just woke up and did this.
So you think this is a negative response to al-Burhan?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it has to be decided from somewhere in the circles, yeah.
Abdalla Hamdok, it's me who want to thank you very much for appearing here on the France 24 channel, and thank you all for watching this interview.